Welcome, ladies, to High Heels and Destiny. High Heels and Destiny. High Heels and Destiny. High Heels and Destiny. Welcome, 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 ladies. I am glad to be back. I miss you guys. Thank you, thank you, thank you for tuning in today. Today, I want to talk about that is not my name. That is not my name. That is not my name. Okay, so today's topic is name change. Remember when you was a kid, most people have nicknames. I know that I have a nickname. So maybe your mom, your dad, or someone in your family gave you a nickname, okay? Or if not someone in your family, maybe someone, some friends, or just people you know in general gave you a nickname. And something about that nicknames describes some type of characteristic in you, okay? And so there comes a time in life where it's time for a name change. Well, my nickname is Riri, okay? And my family still call me Riri, so my grandma ain't gonna change it, so it is what it is, and I just accept that, okay? But there comes a time in your life where it's time for a name change. And the reason why I say that it's time for a name change is because it's something about that name that defines who you are. Okay, so if my name was, let's just say, Lily or something back. I'm just using an example. If my name was Lily and I'm 40 or 50 years old, and I'm not 40, I'm just saying I'm 33. But anyhow, if I was 40, 50 years old, you don't want to be referred to as Lily anymore. You want to be called by your name because at that time when you was given that name, it was something about that name that described who you were. Okay. And so there comes a time in your life where it's time for a name change because what you were then is not who you are now. And if you still answer to that name, it's evidently there could be a possibility. There's still some characteristics sometimes a person can see in you that attach that name to you. So just know, ladies, it's time for a name change. When if your name was Lily or whatever, Mimi, Nika, or whatever, Becky, whatever your name was back then, and if you're in a different stage of your life now, that's no longer your name. You know, I was reading the Bible, and I'm not a Bible scholar by any means, okay? But I noticed in the Bible when God made a transition in somebody's life back then, it became a name change. What their original name was back then, or at that time, I'm sorry, what their original name at that time, when God took them to the next level, God gave them a name change. And I'm not talking about everybody in the Bible. Like I said, I'm not a Bible scholar by any means. But anyhow, God changed their name because it comes a time in your life when you make that change and you do that 360, you no longer want to be what people used to call you. You don't want to no longer be Lily or Becky or Mimi or Nika or whatever the name may be. You no longer want to be that. Okay, it's time for a name change. When what you did back then that attached you to that name is no longer who you are today. You are like, my nickname is Riri, okay? So what I did back then, and like I said, my grandmama's not gonna call me anything different, so I just respect that. But anyhow, that's my nickname, and as I transition through life, that's not who I am anymore. You know, it was something about that name that defined me. My family called me that, and that doesn't bother me. But if it was like a name and it carried out throughout the streets, or different places I went, and they continued to call me that, I would have a problem because that's no longer my name. It's time for a name change. If that makes sense to you. I know what I'm saying may be a little confusing, but I just kind of hope that you can kind of hear me out a little bit. Okay. So anyhow, it comes a stage in your life, what you did back then, you no longer do now, or what you said back then, you no longer say now, or your identity back then is no longer your identity right now. Okay. It's time for a name change. And if you still carry yourself in that manner and you still go by that nickname that you had back then maybe it's time for you to make a change in your name. Okay. There's some things about us And don't get me wrong, ladies. I'm not saying it's nothing wrong. It's something wrong with a nickname. It's nothing wrong with a nickname. Just look past what I'm saying. Well, listen to what I'm saying, but kind of look past the little nickname thing or whatever the case may be. Because I know we have family and they're going to refer to us as nickname. But beyond that or whatever the case may be, you have to see that what I'm saying to you is that it's transition that take place. Who you were back then is no longer who you is now. And if you still in that particular place in your life and you comfortable with that name that you was called as a child, you know, maybe it's some transitions you need to make in your life, because when you transition, you no longer want to attach something to you that's no longer you. That's just like, okay, if you get married and you go somewhere and someone refer to you as MISS rather than MRS, you're going to be like, you're going to find that some type of disrespect, because you're gonna be like, okay, I'm married, so why are they referring to me as MISS rather than MRS? Okay, it's that transition. And that's just like if you became a doctor and I referred to you as your first name and I didn't put doctor before your name, then you're gonna have a problem with that. You're gonna feel like that's some form of disrespect, because that name is no longer who you are. There comes a transition in that name. You're no longer Naranda. You're Dr. Naranda. I mean, I'm not Dr. Naranda, but I'm just using that for example, okay? So it comes a point in time where it's time for a name change. The things that you did back then, the way you act back then, you no longer act like that. You no longer act like that. I'm sorry, you no longer act like that now. It's time for a name change, okay? So ladies, just think about that. Just think about that name change, okay? Because it comes a stage in your life where it's time to change. The things that you used to do, the places you used to go, you no longer want to do that no more, because there comes a time in your life where you should want to do things different. You should want to see things different. You should want to hear things different, okay? It's time for a name change. It's time for a name change, okay? And that doesn't mean that you're better than the next person or anything like that. And look, let me tell you something. I get so tired of people saying like, oh, she different. She thinks she better now. She act completely different. I'm glad I act different. I am 33 years old, okay? So if I still act the way that I act back when I was 15, 16, and 22, then that's a problem. And if you feel like there's a problem, then I think you need to change too. Because if you act the way that you was acting when you was 14, 15, 22, 23, and you 30 something, it's time for a name change, honey. It's time for a name change, okay? It comes a time in your life. That doesn't mean that you're better than the next woman, okay? But it's time for a name change. Yeah, I have changed. Yeah, okay? Do I think I'm better than the next person? Absolutely not. I struggle just like the next person. I have problems just like the next person does, okay? But the thing about it is, it's time for a name change. The things I used to do back then, I no longer do now. The things I used to say back then, guess what? I no longer say anymore, because it was time for a name change, okay? God gave me a new identity. When I got into a place with God and I wanted to transition my life, the things that I used to do, the things I used to say, it's changed. So God gave me a new name. He gave me a new look. He gave me a new glow. He gave me a new way to speak, because it was time for a name change, ladies, okay? So you think about your name. And you think about that transition that you made in your life, okay? And you let me know if it's time for a name change, okay? Just because people change and they don't do the things that they used to do with you, or they don't talk about the things that they used to talk about with you, or because they act a certain way and they no longer act that way no more, it doesn't make them fake. It doesn't make them feeling like they're better than you. But you know what? It was time for their name to be changed. So my question is to you, what is your name? Is it time to change your name, or have you already changed your name? Because if you haven't, it's time for a name change. And it's nothing wrong with a name change. It's nothing wrong with a transition, okay? And that's the problem. People sometimes can be, let me choose my words wisely. a little bit ignorant sometimes, okay? And you don't owe anybody an excuse. If you want to change your name, change your name. If you no longer want to be referred to as that street name or that nickname, and you see yourself better than that, hey, there's nothing wrong. Don't allow people to tell you how you should perceive yourself or what you want for yourself, the transition that you need for yourself in your life. Don't allow anyone to determine how you should characterize yourself, okay? Let me tell you one thing. You never dim your light for anybody. You always allow your light to shine. Whether if they like it or not, oh well, that's their problem, okay? I'm not dimming my light for anybody. They can say what they want to say. They can do what they want to do, but guess what? I'm still going to be the same. I'm going to be me, and there's going to be some more things, guess what, that's going to change about me, because one thing about it, when you get that name change, you don't stop there. God still continue to work in you and change more things about you, okay? So you never stop growing. You never stop changing. You never stop transitioning, okay? It is time for a name change. So like I said to you ladies, have you changed your name? Are you doing the things that you used to do back when you was 20? If you in your 30s, are you doing the things that you used to do when you was in your 20s? If you're 40, are you doing the things that you used to do in your early 30s and your late 20s? Okay, it is time for a name change. Okay, ladies, I want to thank you guys for watching, and just know that you can do all things through Christ that strengthen you. Okay, also, ladies, make sure to share and subscribe to my channel. Okay, and just know today it is time for a name change. Bye bye.